eventually you get absorbed in and you are Sonic.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. I'm Taylor Olmstead, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Tyler Reed,
Hut, hey,
and Sean Evans.
I just hope that this week, or at least today, tomorrow, that we don't get ED in the AL. So that's really the most important part.
Well, if you're listening to this on the day it's released, Sean's referring to the big game, the biggest of the games, the big sport ball, and our hometown Cincinnati Bengals are in the big game for the first time in 31 years, which is very exciting even for the 3 of us who do not watch football generally. Generally speaking.
Every week. I watch it every week.
Get out of here. Go home.
Well, I just don't talk to you guys about it because you're not that interested, so it's not a big deal.
Well, now I'm interested.
Yeah, fair weather fans. We out here.
I played a fantasy sports simulation video game for like an entire year, so I have a general understanding of how football works, as well as played one season in second grade, okay?
You're gonna start calling this guy Tyler Burrow.
Please don't.
I guess no. Let's just be clear though. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Tyler does play video games pretty avidly, and that is growing to be a sport. So I would say that he's an athlete. He's got his protective blue light blocking eyewear that he wears on a regular basis.
Yeah, I have to stretch my hands because I'm old, not because I'm overexerting myself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. See, he's in his 30s now. And once you're in your 30s, you start to realize that you're an adult because you hurt yourself doing normal things that you do. Or, better yet, in your sleep. I hurt my...
Yeah, well, oopsie, and then you get your sprained ankle for a month.
I got my COVID booster this week, and I slept in the wrong position, and I woke up the next day, and it was very difficult for me to turn my head from the left to the right, and vice versa, because I hurt my neck in my sleep. I hurt myself sleeping. No one tells you that when you're a kid. That when you're like, the joy of naps could be ripped away from you when you turn old, because you can hurt yourself during this time when you're unconscious. You could wake up injured.
Well, Tyler, what was our challenge this week?
Hey, everybody. This week, we're trying to find the perfect song for the year of the Bengal Tiger. Submitted by me! I submitted it, and you think my challenge sucks? Or you got another good idea? You can always DM us, add us, however you want to do it on the socials, at NoRepeatPod. Or you can send us an email, repeatpod@gmail.com. Thanks so much.
So to celebrate our boys in orange and black making their way out to LA this week for the Super Bowl, we are going to talk about the year of the Tiger, which also happens to be the year that we just went into, according to the Chinese zodiac. And the Lunar New Year was just 2 weeks ago, so it's kind of a twofer challenge. We're looking at songs that are bringing us into that winning energy for the year of the Tiger, and hopefully the year of the Bengals Super Bowl win. So, as maybe not the most avid Bengal fans, and certainly not the biggest Guns N' Roses fans, how did we go about picking songs that weren't Welcome to the Jungle this week?
I looked for a song that was super sportsy and should be, very YOLO 2022. Maybe we'll be out of the pandemic this year. Who knows? I'm just saying.
Narrator, they did not get out of the pandemic.
I admire your optimism, Sean.
Someone's got to have it.
I hesitate to say like sportsy, but something that was like, I felt like it could play in a sports stadium. You can't have anything that's too technically complex in that environment because you have a lot of echo, you have a lot of crowd noise. You need something with a simple melody that people can sing along to. And so that's part of what I was looking for. And I wanted that kind of like upbeat, like, pushing towards the goal line type of energy. But then I also wanted something from home because I felt like, it's a big week for Cincinnati. We should be celebrating our hometown. And so I wanted to pick a hometown band, and that was surprisingly easy for me to do because I kind of had the perfect song in my back pocket. But I did notice that, like, when you just look up game day songs or like competition songs or sports songs, it's a lot of like trash talky like rap songs, like diss songs and stuff, which is fine. I love those, but it did make me kind of think about like what makes a stadium anthem so good. And a lot of times it's just like a triumphant, simple melody, which you don't always get with like a really verbose rap song. You know, like what makes We Will Rock You good is that it's simple and easy to sing and only has 4 words. Or Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll Part 2, which only has 1 word.
Yeah, I was really not interested in sort of contributing to that sort of like canon, because I feel like we've picked some of those songs already, and you know, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot to really say about it. You're like, I don't feel like any of those songs particularly speak to like a sort of Tiger-like energy, or necessarily to like Cincinnati or, you know, like the Bengals in any way. Because like We Will Rock You is like good in like generically, but it doesn't really feel specific. I actually went through a lot of songs this week, and it kind of started with, I would say that I started to build a playlist, and here's what was at the top and here's what was at the bottom was, you know, I was just gonna keep wanting to pick an Amyl and the Sniffers song, so that was at the top, and then it was Stronger by Kanye. And then I tried to like, and then I enhanced it. Across, and then I just sort of like kept picking songs. And I got into like a real like Riot Girl section, because I feel like there's a sort of like, I feel like a lot of like male vocals right now are kind of like dopey, like in the punk space. Like they're not like what album just came out? Like, Yard Act. Yes, the new Yard Act album came out, and like that's sort of similar to Parquet Courts, and it's like sort of like vocal delivery, and it doesn't give me like any sort of like real like energy to it, but like sort of like a Riot Girl sort of thing is sort of like a almost has like feels like it has its claws out, right? Not to be like gendered or whatever, right? But like I feel like there's like a sort of like ferocity to like some of those sort of songs, and so like I end up finding a lot of songs that were just sort of like mean. And I don't really feel like I wanted a song that felt mean. You know, I wanted something I felt like it had like a swagger to it. And so I kind of then shifted over to something that sort of like was like, well, okay, so Cincinnati sort of like had like a R&B or sort of like a soul sort of like scene for like a long time. That's sort of like a historical part of them. And so I kind of went something maybe it was like kind of like a little funky or had like a good like beat to it. And maybe it was a little more cool. It was a little more collective. It was a little more focused in on sort of like the goal rather than a sort of like rend and tear sort of like a wild animal. I went sort of like a cool hunter sort of like calm and collected sort of vibe. Something with a real swagger, because I feel like this team has just sort of been cool, calm, and collected. I feel like every time I hear about Joe Burrow, he's just sort of like, yeah, man, I'm good at what I do. I'm focused, I'm not like gonna not gonna overreact to a lot of stuff, just gonna kind of be in my lane and just do the thing. And so, I don't know, I feel like I kind of wanted a song for this team, felt a little bit more under control, a little more zen, but with a little bit of attitude to it, to sort of like, they put their money where their mouth is, and I think they mean it. So that's sort of like, I don't know, I feel like I was really trying to dig deep this week. So
yeah, you went a lot deeper on this than I did. That's for sure. Do you want to just go first? Get your pick out of the way?
Sure. Cool. This week I chose Cut 'Em In, featuring Rick Ross by Anderson .Paak.
Sometimes I need a vacate, meditate, hydrate, protect my energy before engagement.
Grew up having nothing, you're labeled impatient. But once the boss made it, you're labeled amazing. Meticulous with words, such a force of nature. I don't wanna seem absurd, but that boy's a gangster. Focusing on me, way from Tel Aviv. Barbados with the hustle pockets, LIDs. Distinctive destinations, all I wanna see. Oceanfront residences, 3 different ones a week.
So we've had Anderson .Paak on the show before for a little Silk Sonic feature. But I don't really feel like I've dug too deep into Anderson, aside from sort of listening to that Silk Sonic record. But I had remembered that I feel like when I was trying to find this sort of like newer direction I was kind of going in, I was like thinking about who has like kind of like a soul vibe, who's kind of got sort of like a percussive element, and I really kind of like, I was like, oh yes, Anderson. He's the perfect person to sort of like dig into. And so I really kind of wanted a song that had like a swagger to it. And so I feel like this song is sort of like, it's sort of like it's not necessarily a diss track, you know, it's sort of like, it's like puffing your chest a little bit, but I feel like it's also like humble because it's like, hey, I mean, I came from nothing, you know, I worked my way up, you know, I had a lot of set downs, you know, I feel like the sort of like, hey, I made a lot of money, I spent a lot of money sort of feels almost kind of like, almost like, not necessarily literally like the Bengals in a way, but sort of like, you know, it's a team that's really sort of like had its moments, had its chances, but it hasn't necessarily been able to capitalize on all the time. And so like, I felt like, you know, I felt like it had the lyrical content really kind of like felt in the spirit of it. And, you know, I really just love all the beats that he chooses for his songs. And I feel like this one is simple. It's repetitive. I feel like gives you kind of, it's like a very circular, you know, it's a very repetitive beat. And so I feel like, you know, you're like jogging, you know, like you're getting pumped up for the game. You know, I feel like it's a nice, it kind of gets you into that, almost that primal sense, you know, that, and that repetition sometimes gets you in. And I just think that it is, I think it's aggressive, but it's not overly aggressive. I think it gives you just the right kind of like momentum you need to kind of pump yourself up. And, you know, I feel like I said, it's Tiger-like in that, you know, it's strong, it's powerful, but it's not overexerting itself. It's not trying too hard. It's, you know, it's not willingly using up its energy. And I feel like the song is just, it's simple, sort of like in its beat, but I think it has a lot of sort of like fun lyrics in it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a really cool pick. I did not expect Anderson .Paak for this challenge. Like, I always think of him being a little more smooth, a little more R&B. And this is much more of a rap song for him. Not like his typical more sing-songy delivery, but I dig it. He's really got good flow on this. This song was actually made for the Madden 21 soundtrack, which, you know, makes sense.
Hey.
You really hit the nail on the head. This is like the flagship song of the video game. I think the beat is really cool. It has the producer shout-outs on it, though. And, like, I don't mind those, because sometimes producers have fun with them. It's just, the shout-outs on here are really generic. And I know Rick Ross is going to Rick Ross, but the fact that he drops his little Maybach music tag in the middle of his verse is really distracting to me. And, like, that's just me. I don't prefer that kind of thing. If you're going to do it, put it at the start of the song or at the end. It's weird. He's like just in the middle of a verse, and then the woman goes Maybach music, like out of nowhere. Like, where'd that come from?
I don't know if I fully noticed that, but that's interesting. Yeah, that's kind of.
But yeah, I really love both of their verses. I think the hook is super fun, and the false stop on the hook about 2/3 of the way through is a fun twist. Like, if you're gonna do a beat change up, to just go in with like half a bar of silence and then bring it back in like a kind of chopped up way. It's a really cool way to do that.
I don't know if I'm like the biggest fan of this song. It's like a little, I don't know, like it's a little, the lyrics aren't subtle. It's like, I get that, I guess songs can be braggadocious and stuff, and that's fine, but it just doesn't, like, I think it misses the mark a little. It feels heavy-handed lyrically. I like the beat. I like where it goes. I just don't. I wouldn't add this song to a playlist for me personally, ever, because I don't think it's very artistic. It feels very like,
yeah, like it was for a video game.
Not even that. It just feels. It feels like half baked. I don't know. It's not like it doesn't fit the challenge. I just think there are other. I don't think it's that good of a song. Like,
sure. Oh, you can go ahead. You can bring whatever you got. This is.
No. That's fine. Like, I don't want to go hard on it. Like, I could do something better because I couldn't. I just feel like I've heard other examples out there of lyricists that are in the same genre right now that are even doing like movie soundtracks and game soundtracks that just feel like more put together songs. So I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't. What was the other song that we had on the show that had Anderson .Paak in it? Because I feel like I probably said I liked it.
Well, it was Silk Sonic, so it was the collab between him and Bruno Mars, which is kind of a different thing.
Yeah.
It's because it was a song you picked it.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like...
Keep the door open.
Oh, well, that's a way more Bruno Mars song than it is Anderson .Paak.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But that's what I mean. Like, he's not usually this kind of a rapper. Like, he's much more of a singer-rapper.
Okay. I was going to say, maybe that's why I feel like it just feels a little out of lane. Just not genuine, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I couldn't... Sure. I'm not about to stand up here and give a lecture on Anderson .Paak either, so...
Well, Sean, why don't you tell us about something you do like?
Well, this week I chose Ace of Spades by Motorhead.
If you like to gamble, I tell you I'm your man. You win some, lose some, it's all the same to me. The pleasure is to play, ain't no difference what you say. I don't say agree, the only card I need is the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades.
So, another video game-esque songs, probably. If you're a millennial dude and you know about this song, you probably had Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. I feel like it was like one of the first places that I heard this song. But it's been around for a while, probably came out in the 80s. And it's very much just about a rambunctious lifestyle. Like, you know, not living by the rules and playing things your own way. And I just think I don't know if it so much matches the Chinese Zodiac Tiger as much as it matches my feelings towards the Bengals this year, because that's really what I'm focused on. As a lifelong Bengals fan who has really stopped watching them because I live in a market that doesn't play the Bengals. I love the Bengals. I yell at the TV over the Bengals. And I'm excited for the Bengals. Like I'm kind of can't believe it. Like it seems not real to me. But yeah, we basically were like, we didn't have an amazing record this year compared to the other teams in the league. We have a quarterback who was injured on like the first game of last year, and we tanked the rest of our season. And we were just like, what was I? We were basically agent of chaos in it, as I was saying last year. Like we were just trying to go out there and make a win and ruin somebody's record. That was essentially all we were doing. Like I didn't care who we beat as long as we win and knocked the Steelers out of the playoffs. I didn't really care. That was the only thing we had to do. We were playing with bad coaching for years. I think for a while I was even entertaining the idea myself of like the Bengals going to a different city, so maybe there would be a better, like we would win because I would still be a Bengals fan if they moved. Like that's how much I care about the Bengals. But here we are. We have Joe Burrow, and he's bringing us in to the Super Bowl with an amazing team of very talented receivers. And I want to know, I'm more curious about if we could have been here last year if we didn't get dumb injuries. So,
I mean, what's not to love about Ace of Spades? Like, I'm not a Motorhead fan, but I love this song. It's a classic. That riff is so good. I mean, it's like jet fuel. It goes, man. It takes off so fast. And I do think there's kind of like Sean said, like this agent of chaos element to being like supporting a team like the Bengals or really any Ohio sports team except the Cavaliers when they had LeBron, because we all were like underdog teams. And there was always this element of like, we're out here not to win, but to make it harder for everyone else. And, you know, we've had moments of major sports success, but it's not happened in quite some And so I think there is this kind of like raucousness and like the kids have taken over the playground energy going into the Super Bowl, as like the city is just kind of like, finally our chance. You know, I could definitely see this being on some pregame mixtapes for both players and parties around the city as we approach Sunday.
I mean, when you really think about it, I guess one of the sort of like playlists for Cincinnati is like WEBN, which Ace of Spades is almost assuredly played like at least 3 times a day. Like,
we should say WEBN is the independent rock station in Cincinnati, which we harp on sometimes on this program because it plays a lot of what might be generously referred to as cock rock. But at the same time, the fact that we have an independent rock station is a pretty big deal in the age of like Cumulus and iHeart and all these like mega corporations owning
That's
every
true.
radio station ever. Like, props to them for what they're doing, but they do play songs like this all the time.
and an hour of Metallica. You know, the band that everybody's...
If there's not AC/DC at the top and bottom of every hour, it's not WEBN.
Yeah.
WEBN, lick the frog.
But I don't know, I guess I would imagine maybe that's not like... I imagine as like a fan, that's like kind of what you're listening to, and there's probably like a nostalgia to that, or sort of like that's the sort of the energy you can sort of bottle and contain, like when you're getting ready for like a game, when you're tailgating or like whatever. So that's like, that was like a completely different perspective than I was like sort of like thinking about for this. But absolutely, I feel like this falls into the canon of like all of the songs that you would hear at like a sports stadium for any event. But I mean, like, how can you deny Ace of Spades? I mean, it's furious, it's raucous, it's loud. I mean, the vocal delivery is gravelly. Sounds like a man who's
Really, really beating up his vocal cords.
been at a biker bar for... Yeah, not a technically great performance, but an aesthetic, a pleasing, an exciting, a iconic performance. But yeah, I mean, I think, does this sound like sports? Yeah. So yeah.
Does it sound like sports?
How's bells? Sports.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Nothing else matters? Sports.
Listen, if you can lick a frog to it, then it's gonna be on WEBN.
We are champions? Sports.
Speaking of that, speaking of bands that are really trying to pull off that vibe, spoiler alert.
Oh, hey, it's me. I'm last this week. This week I picked Cincinnati's own Foxy Shazam and their song Unstoppable.
And we won back down this time. No, we won back down this time. We are unstoppable. No, we can't be defeated. We are unstoppable. No, we don't need a reason.
Okay, so let's just deal with the elephant in the band. Foxy Shazam is basically just trying to be Queen. Like, they have always basically been trying to be Queen. And you know what? If it was anybody else, I would be bothered by it. But there's something about Foxy that, like, their live shows are so campy and ridiculous. Like, for those who haven't seen them, frontman Eric Nally will literally eat cigarettes during their set.
Gross.
It's wild. And I think he is like so much of the energy of this band because his vocal delivery is just so unique. It's like somewhere between Freddie Mercury and Kermit the Frog. And he can get so high. Like, his falsetto is just huge. And I think this song in particular is such a cool example of like taking that Queen sound, taking that We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions energy, updating it a little bit for the 2000s, and then just like pushing on it. Like, can we make the choruses bigger? Can we add more background vocals? Can we, just turn up the guitars a little bit louder? Like, this song is really going for it in a way that, like, I want a sports anthem to go for it. And, when you get into that breakdown crowd vocal portion where they're singing We Are Unstoppable, with a big crowd of background vocals. It's a blast, and being there to see this performed live, it like blows the walls off the room every single time. They have a new record coming out this year. It's their first like 5 years. I'm pumped. Foxy forever.
I mean, just because it feels like an elevated Queen cover band doesn't mean that it's like it doesn't work. Like, I think it's still I still think it succeeds for like what you're trying to do, right? Like,
yeah, Year of the Tiger, baby. We are unstoppable. Let's go.
right, like there's probably multiple like people that you probably could recall it throughout history that have like a sort of like falsetto vocal delivery. You know, I don't know. I don't feel like this. I don't know. It's like just because someone like in the 70s wrote a song about being the champions one time, and you're like, well, we can never write a song about being good at sports ever again, or like being like winning a thing. So I don't know. I feel like I'm ready to counteract whatever Sean's pee pee poo poo he's gonna throw on this song. But I think it's sick. I mean, I think you need new songs in sort of like this lineage at some point. And I think the song is particularly tigery. Were any of our songs particularly tigery?
Yes.
Go ahead, Sean. I can see the hate in your eyes. Tear down these independent musicians from our hometown. Tell them how much you hate their music.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not gonna tell them that I hate their music. It's hacky. It's a little hacky. This song is. I haven't honestly listened to them that much either. I just feel like when I heard it, I was like, oh, does this feel like it's trying too hard? And then it started to really sound like it was trying too hard. And then I just couldn't get trying too hard out of my head. But it's a good one to add to the sports genre. I don't think there's a lot of songs that you could add that couldn't fit in a sports genre, I think, you know? Like, you could do anything for love, but you won't do that. And that thing is losing. Now it's a sports song. Yeah.
I feel like you're reaching there.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you've been reaching with this song, Jackass.
Whoa!
Talk about claws out. Dang.
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's fine. It's a little long.
I will concede to that. It's a little bit... At 3 minutes and 33 seconds, it feels longer than that.
Yeah, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, it's a little too repetitive.
I mean, I like Foxy's avant-garde thing, but it just feels like there's a lot. You know what does it for me? And it's that damn tambourine.
That is an
The tambourine.
that is an interesting thing to pull out of this very dense mix. The tambourine.
It just feels like there's like beck and call thing happening, and like, no, we won't. Like, is it pirate rock? Like, I don't know what's happening here. It just feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have always found the little vocal ad-libs and background stuff to be a bit much. I will agree with that.
I mean, whatever.
But
I don't think it's terrible, but I really feel like listening to this song, it feels a little piratey. It's like this could be Queen's like pirate concept album.
It's not like a sea shanty. It's just
Shiver Me Jimbers or something.
no. Come on, no, you can't.
don't do that to him.
You can't.
It's also from a different time.
Don't do it
It's
to
from
Foxy like that. That's not
Let's not
piratey.
Get carried away here. It's 12 years ago.
I'm just
Yeah, everyone was a
walking
little
into
piratey
this
10
is
years ago.
inside of Tyler's music library in his mind. I just kicked down the door. I just walked in there with a cigarette in my mouth and some kerosene. I'm just like dumping it around a little bit, you know. That's really what I think he feels right now. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you feel like that. I think you do need a reason. And there's a horn in here. There's a horn section. Oh.
Yeah, they have a trumpet player in the band.
Great. Love that.
Okay. That's a big no for me.
But
uh
appreciate it. Oh, come on. No, Sean, come on. That's fun.
My God.
Adds a little flair to
Ooh.
it. Come on.
Oh.
Oh, boys, we really were like, we should have a fun celebratory episode, and then we said, actually, let's take a big dump on these songs that we just kind of like.
Speak for yourselves. I love my song.
I feel like I need to listen to more of both of your artists.
I mean, I feel like you were not indefensible about you're like, all right, there's some problems.
Well, yeah, there are some problems, but like there are some problems with everything. Criticizing something doesn't mean you don't love it.
All right. Well, now that I've hated all over everybody else's, let's shine light on everybody who did pick a good one. David Wagers. Okay, so David picked Leslie Hall, Tight Pants, Body Rolls. Have you heard this? Has anybody heard this song?
No. Love the title, though.
I have just briefly. It is primarily a YouTube video, as I'm aware, but it is apparently a funny haha video.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. All right. So, Jack said The Interrupters, by Title Holder.
Other way around.
Oh.
Title Holder by the Interrupters.
Title Holder by the Interrupters. Okay.
That's a great pick. I didn't put it in as mine because I don't feel like Cincinnati has a real ska lineage.
Ooh. Oh, no.
Yeah. It's more of a Southern California sound.
But so the Rams are from Southern California. So that works. That plays.
Yeah, but we don't want to support them right now.
Listen, Tigers versus Goats. We all know who's winning that one. Let's see. Kevin Vance. Kevin, how you doing, buddy? He picked Tiger's Jaws song self-titled. Is that right? Like
album.
Yeah.
Album. Okay.
Yeah, he said just the whole album.
Oh, the whole album. Oh, all right.
He also said Eye of the Tiger, yeah. And you're like, well, we're not gonna.
Well, that's what Sarah said too. She was like Eye of the Tiger, and I was like, you can be more creative than that.
Maybe we should have just picked Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, it's like Welcome to the Jungle. Like, you don't need to pick Welcome to the Jungle. You can't go to a Bengals game without hearing that stupid song everywhere.
Yeah.
And Tyler's dad, LOL.
Hey.
It just says my dad, and I know that my dad didn't submit this, so I'm just going to assume that it's Tyler's dad. Hi, Mr. Reed.
Yeah.
He picked Traffic, Dear Mr. Fantasy. I have never heard of this band either.
Well, I've heard of Traffic. I haven't heard that song, though. I have to check that out.
I feel like I know a couple of them every once in a while, but I knew none of these today. All right, well, with that, B-sides, you got them. We want to hear about them. Tyler, if you pick anything by Amaryl, I'm going to be super pissed because I totally...
Yours?
Yes, leave them alone. I almost picked one for this song, for this particular one, and I was like, no. And then when you were talking about your process, I was like, I'm putting my Spotify on private now because this guy...
He's coming for you.
This guy keeps... Yeah. He's looking and seeing what I got going on, and I'm a little bit upset about it. He's got my number, and he keeps like...
I had two. I had 1 Foot by Walk the Moon, another great Cincinnati-based act, and then, not from Cincinnati, but Run It Up by Tyler, the Creator. I mean, basically anything on Call Me If You Get Lost, but Run It Up in particular. That's all I got.
All right. B-sides, Speed Queen by Thunder Pussy.
So fun to say.
It was a real strong contender. Volcano by Killbirds, Full Metal Black by The Royal They, Can I Get the Real Stuff by Gorilla Toss, Oh by the Linda Lindas, Black Moon by Screaming Females, Camelot by Skating Polly, White Lies by War on Women, Taxi by Nova Twin. And that is where I will leave it off. Also, quick other fan-submitted suggestion. Alex Lockwood suggested Tiger by Maximum Balloon and Two Original by Major Lazer. We had talked about it in a little... So they were my B-sides, but those were actually his picks, and I was not going to pick. Gotta keep it pure.
So Tight Pants Body Rolls is a very interesting song. It does have a Tiger reference in it, so I get why it's on here, but I don't know if it's very sporty.
It's gotta be one of the two.
Though. And football players do wear spandex. And she is wearing spandex. So, yeah, you know what? I'm counting it.
All right, well, Tyler, if people want to draft you, where can they do that?
Find my design illustration work at rudepets.club, and as always, on the social, Rude Pets Club on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if people want you to perform their halftime show, where can they do that? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Teleshon.
And if you want some color commentary from me, you can find me on the socials at TC Olmstead. All of these songs will be on the official No Repeat podcast playlist. We will be watching the Bengals like everybody else, so the episode may be a little bit delayed next week, but we will be back with another episode of No Repeat.
And us, we know,